Hello, everyone. Today, I want to share with you something that will forever change the way we understand interim management and business transformation. Do you know what really makes a company run? No, I'm not talking about the procedures you have documented or the manuals you've carefully written. I'm talking about something much more valuable, something you've probably never been able to fully capture. Imagine the situation. Maria has been with the company for 25 years. She knows exactly what makes that machine in the North Wing work best when it makes a specific noise. Jose knows perfectly well which client prefers to be called before 10 a.m. and which one should never be disturbed after 4 p.m. And Carla is the only one who knows that error code 247 is fixed simply by restarting, even though the manual says to call a technician. Does this sound familiar? Of course it does, because I'm describing the reality of your companies. 80% of the knowledge that really makes your organizations work is not in any document. It's in the accumulated experience of your people. And here comes the question that should concern us all. What happens when these people leave? When they retire? When they change companies? When they simply are no longer with us? Let me show you the reality we all know, but few truly quantify. When someone like Maria, Jose, or Carla announces they're leaving, something extraordinary happens. Suddenly, everyone realizes that this person was much more than an employee. They were a hub of knowledge. They were the living memory of processes that were never documented. They were the walking solution to problems no one else knew how to solve. Let me tell you a real story. 6 months ago, a manufacturing company in Valencia lost its maintenance supervisor after 30 years. The man retired with a very nice party, congratulations, gifts, and took with him the knowledge of why a certain boiler worked better when a valve was adjusted in a specific way. The result? 3 months later, the boiler began to fail. The new technicians couldn't understand why. The manuals didn't explain it. The cost? EUR 186,500 in lost production, unnecessary repairs, and hiring external experts who were never able to fully resolve the problem. Recent studies show that between 15 and 30 people in your company hold 80% of the critical knowledge. It's not democratic, it's not fair, but it's the reality. And when one of those people leaves, rebuilding their knowledge takes between 18 months and 3 years. If it can be rebuilt at all, how much hidden treasure does your company have? How much is that knowledge worth that isn't written down, that can't be transferred with a simple induction manual? But what if I told you there's a way to capture this knowledge before it's lost forever? What if I told you that artificial intelligence can help us preserve this organizational treasure permanently? Let me introduce you to Method 1, listening intelligence. Imagine having tiny digital agents that can analyze the natural conversations that occur in your company every day. I'm not talking about espionage. I'm not talking about surveillance. I'm talking about something much more sophisticated and ethical. These intelligent agents can transcribe and analyze meetings, conversations about processes, calls with clients, always with the explicit consent of everyone involved. But here's the magic. They don't just capture words. They detect patterns. They identify when someone mentions that Monday machine. They recognize the emotional tone when certain topics are discussed. They discover the invisible connections between seemingly unrelated problems. For example, the system can detect that every time someone mentions the South Wing process, there's a slight degree of frustration in their tone of voice. That when talking about the Northern client, they always mention that they prefer to be contacted in the morning. That the Phoenix project is always associated with certain types of technical issues. This knowledge, which was previously lost in the air, now becomes a documented, analyzable, and transferable asset. It is transformed into structured information that can help train new employees, improve processes, and prevent problems. But listening isn't enough. Sometimes we need to ask questions directly. And here comes Method 2, surveys that think. How many times have you sent surveys to your employees to understand what's working and what isn't? And how many times have the responses been superficial, generic, or simply didn't provide the insight you really needed? Traditional surveys are like museum entry forms. They serve a purpose, but they don't tell the real story of what's going on. Smart adaptive surveys are like having a conversation with an expert researcher who knows exactly what to ask and when to dig deeper. If someone mentions a problem with communication, the system doesn't stop there. It asks, what type of communication? Between whom? At what times? If it detects frustration, it digs deeper. How long have you felt this? What impact does it have on your daily work? Imagine someone answers, the purchase approval process is slow. A traditional survey stops at that answer, but our smart survey asks, which part specifically? How long does it take? What alternatives have you considered? What would happen if? And suddenly, we discover that the problem isn't the process itself, but that a certain supervisor is applying additional, undocumented criteria, or that there's confusion about who should approve what, or that the computer system has a bug that only appears under certain conditions. This inquiry reveals the knowledge that really matters, the whys, the hows, the whens, the information that would never appear on a traditional form. And now we come to what is perhaps the most revolutionary method of all, mapping the real knowledge network in your organization. Look at your official organizational chart. Nice, right? Clear hierarchies, well-defined responsibilities, logical structure. But, does this sound familiar? When you have a really complex technical problem, who do you really go to? When you need to know how a process really works, who is the person who really knows? Most of the time, it's not your direct boss. It's that colleague who always has the answer. It's that person in the maintenance department who knows all the tricks. It's the administrator who's been there for 20 years and knows exactly who does what and when. These people are what we call hidden experts, connectors, and knowledge keepers. They don't appear on formal organizational charts, but they're the ones who really make the company run. Artificial intelligence can map these invisible networks. It analyzes who consults whom, who responds to whom, who shares information with whom. It can identify that when there's a problem with X, Mary is always consulted. That when it comes to Y, Joseph is the point person. That certain people act as bridges between departments that officially shouldn't have that much connection. This map reveals your true knowledge assets. It identifies who should be involved in critical projects. It shows where the real risk of knowledge loss lies. And most importantly, it allows you to create succession plans based on reality, not theory. Let me share 4 real-life stories that demonstrate the transformative power of this combination of interim management and artificial intelligence. Case 1. The manufacturing company. That saved $2.3 million. An automotive components factory had a problem. Every Monday morning, the main production line failed. External technicians couldn't find the problem. Technical reports showed nothing abnormal. Through conversation analysis and network mapping, we discovered that the night shift manager had developed an undocumented procedure to tweak certain parameters that he knew worked best. When he retired, that knowledge was lost. Reconstructing that knowledge and systematizing it not only solved the Monday problem, but also improved overall efficiency by 23%. 2.3 million euros saved in the first year. Case 2. The service company. That reduced its turnover by 40%. A technology consulting firm was experiencing 35% annual turnover, especially among senior profiles. Exit surveys didn't reveal the real problem. Smart adaptive surveys discovered that the problem wasn't pay or conditions, but a pattern of micromanagement by certain managers that didn't appear in any official evaluations. Employees didn't mention it during exits because they didn't want to burn bridges. Intervening with this specific pattern reduced turnover to 21% in 18 months, saving EUR 890,000 in recruitment and training costs. Case Study 3. The logistics company. That avoided a catastrophe. An international shipping company nearly lost its main contract with a client representing 40% of its revenue. Official metrics showed excellent service. Network mapping revealed that the real problem was a knowledge keeper in the Valencia warehouse who had been quietly resolving documentation issues for years. When he fell ill for 3 months, delays, errors, and penalties appeared. Creating an automated documentation system and training others in these processes not only saved the contract, but also improved customer satisfaction by 30%. Case 4. The startup. That scaled without losing its essence. A tech startup grew from 50 to 200 employees in 18 months. The company culture was fading, innovation was declining, and the founders were desperate. The full analysis revealed that the informal innovation processes that had made the company great were being crushed by excessive formalization. We discovered secret nightly hackathons that some employees organized to keep innovation alive. Recognizing and formalizing these informal processes resulted in a 45% increase in the innovation rate and a 67% increase in revenue. In all cases, the combination of interim management with AI not only solved immediate problems, but also created sustainable competitive advantages based on the knowledge that already existed in the organization. And here, I need to pause to talk about something fundamental, because when I talk about analyzing conversations, mapping networks, capturing implicit knowledge, I know it can sound worrying. Are you saying you're going to spy on my employees? Are you going to record all our conversations? Isn't this like Big Brother? These are completely legitimate questions, and it's critical that we address them with the transparency they deserve. This process is based on 3 unwavering pillars. First, total transparency. Everyone knows exactly what is being analyzed, why, and how the information will be used. There is no spying, no covert surveillance, no surprise discoveries. Second, informed consent. No one participates without their explicit permission. And when I say explicit, I mean that everyone knows exactly what information will be captured, who will have access to it, and what it will be used for. Third, mutual benefit. This is not us versus them. This is everyone together to preserve and value collective knowledge. Employees are not sources of information. They are co-owners of the knowledge we are helping to capture and formalize. When people truly understand the goal, that their valuable knowledge will be recognized, preserved, and converted into a competitive advantage for the company, as well as benefiting their careers, they not only collaborate, but become the greatest advocates for the process. This isn't corporate surveillance. It's scientific collaboration to capture, preserve, and value the organization's collective knowledge. And so we come to the moment of truth. Because after spending some time together, after having seen the problems, the solutions, the real-life cases, the inevitable question arises: how much hidden treasure does your company have? Let me ask you a few questions so you can assess it for yourself. Do you have employees who have been with the company for more than 10 years whose critical knowledge is undocumented? Have errors or problems increased when a key person has been on vacation or sick? Does it take more than 3 months for a new employee to be truly productive? Do you have processes that only certain people fully understand? Have you found yourself solving problems that didn't exist before after someone leaves? If you answered yes to more than 2 of these questions, you have a hidden treasure problem. And here's the part that should really concern you. That uncaptured knowledge has immense economic value. Independent studies show that implicit knowledge in a medium-sized company is worth between 2 and 5 million euros. This isn't a figure I just pulled out of thin air. It's the value of accumulated experience, optimized processes, customer relationships, tricks of the trade, all that knowledge that goes away when people leave. But here's the good news. For the first time in business history, we have the technology to permanently capture, structure, and preserve this organizational treasure. And I'm not talking about a process that takes years. I'm talking about a process that can begin to reveal valuable insights in a matter of weeks, and that can document critical knowledge in months, not years. That's why, and because I firmly believe that every company should know its true knowledge potential, I'm proposing something concrete: a free mapping of your hidden treasure. In 72 hours, we can show you exactly how much critical knowledge is undocumented in your organization, where your hidden experts are, which processes are at risk of disappearing with people, and most importantly, how much all of that is worth to your company. The knowledge in your company is the most valuable asset you have. More valuable than your machines, more valuable than your buildings, more valuable than your patents. Because that knowledge is what makes you unique. It's your competitive advantage. It's what differentiates you from the competition. Don't let it get lost. Don't let it go with the next person who retires. Don't let it evaporate when someone decides to change paths. Capture it, preserve it, cherish it, turn it into your permanent competitive advantage. And before we say goodbye, I'd like to leave you with one more thing. If, after everything we've shared in this video, you feel like exploring how this revolution can be applied to your company. If you have specific questions about your particular case, or if you simply want to continue this conversation, here's my LinkedIn QR code. Scan it with your phone, and it will take you directly to my professional profile. There we can connect, continue talking about how to capture and preserve the knowledge embedded in your organizations, or explore collaboration opportunities. Don't hesitate to contact me. I'd be happy to continue helping you with this transformation. Because in the end, what really matters is not the technology itself, but how we use it to enhance the value of people. Thanks again for your attention. Remember, your company's true treasure isn't what you have documented. It's what only your best employees know. And now, for the first time, we have the tools to capture it, preserve it, and turn it into your permanent competitive advantage. I'll see you on LinkedIn. Let's make this knowledge last forever.